Welcome to the next edition of our podcast brought to you by Intuit Circles and Head Start. This is Gautam here, your host for the day. I'm the director of Head Start and I drive global startup initiatives at Infosys DPM. I'm really happy to have a thought leader, someone I totally respect on today's episode, Anshuman Kumar, Director, Global Brand and Corporate Communications at Intuit. Thank you so much for joining us, Anshuman.
Hey Gautam, thank you so much. I'm super excited to be with you and also to talk to so many of your listeners, not just in India, hopefully around the world.
Of course. So, Anshuman, before I get started with our candid conversation, I'm just going to set the context for the audience today. So, our podcast that we've been running with between Intuit and Head Start been pretty engaging, and we've been having thousands of views on this. And like you said, both Intuit and Head Start today are spread across multiple countries, and we've got viewers from different parts of the geography. That's something very similar here, of course. Our base being India. And Head Start today, for all of you, we've expanded to about 50 cities just in India, trying to support the startup ecosystem for about 14 years now. And Intuit and Head Start have joined hands to, support and help thrive a lot of startups during the tough phase in 2020. So as a part of it, our intention is to work closely with thought leaders, bring out their learning in a way that is consumable for you and directly implemented in your startup. So, Anshuman, a very quick question to you. Jumping straight into the conversation. You've been with Infosys in senior roles here, and the global brand, corporate communications, marketing has been your area of forte over the last few years. This year has been, very difficult. I think, be it for corporates, be it for startups. In your view, how has 2020 been for you at Intuit?
Yeah, no, I think I'm just glad that, there is light at the end of the tunnel, I would say. All of us have gone through such an unprecedented time. And the most important thing that, really kind of stood out for me and for all of us is, what's the purpose for which we exist, right? And then being guided by that purpose and doing good by your stakeholders is something that really kind of stood out more than anything for me. I think we have all gone through very, very difficult times, but we have to also realize that, some of us probably did not go through it as acutely as some of the other folks. And so how can we really lean in and support people who have, been hit very hard? I think that's been, the key kind of, say, differentiator between how we have really come out of or coming out of this pandemic. And so, that brings me again very, very close to the purpose or the mission of Intuit around powering prosperity. At Intuit, we believe everyone should have the opportunity to prosper. And that actually really guided all our actions throughout 2020. And also it has been the guiding light for us right from the inception. So I would say, I look back at 2020 as a year that, brought us closer to the purpose of our existence, and also really kind of made, people or companies stand out from others based on how did they really kind of do right for its stakeholders in entirety and the community at large. And I hope that we continue to be close to creating an impact, not just for our company, but also for the larger good. So I would say 2020 has been a year of realization and also resilience, the way all of us have come together. And I hope that particular guiding factor of working together will help us come out stronger on the other side.
No, you made a wonderful point, Anshuman. 2020 has been a tough year. Resilience has been a big pillar here. The point that I would love to reiterate here is the fact that during tough times, the way you not just take care of yourself and your company, but also of your stakeholders, is what differentiates the great companies from the good. And something I would like to bring up is, Intuit as a company, has always stood out for its, product centricity and culture. But you've also repeatedly been adjudged as one of the best places to work. What has been working for you, or what's been worked in your favor?
So, I think, as I said, and I'll repeat myself again here. I think unless you know why you exist as an organization, it's very hard for you to continue to make progress. And I'll just kind of talk through, our own journey. Our own journey has been a journey of self-disruption and reimagination through multiple, eras, if I can say that. We actually, as a company, were founded in the 1980s, right, which was the era of DOS. And then from then we migrated to the 90s, which I would say was the era of Windows. And from then to the era of web in the early 2000s to the era of mobile and cloud in 2010s. And I think the way we are looking forward is the era of artificial intelligence. And I think this has been the journey of Intuit around these different shifts in technology, in lifestyle, in the way customers have kind of evolved themselves and their businesses, and we had to also evolve. So I would say that spirit of self-disruption, reimagination has been something that has been the cornerstone for our evolution as a company, and that has helped us continuously kind of look at what comes next for us as a company. How can we solve the pain points of our customers in a better way? And I would say that whole spirit of reimagination has helped us not just evolve our products and offering, but also our culture, our values, and brought us even more closer to our people, to the larger community. And so I would say that has been one of the principles of our existence, is to always look at what comes next and prepare ourselves as a company, and also evolve our culture. I mean, our people are our biggest differentiators, and so we welcome people from diverse backgrounds, and we want them to come at Intuit and do the best work of their lives. But for them to do that, the company has to also be able to give them the challenges that we see today and also in the future, so that they can have a bigger impact and they can innovate and they can go back and take pride in what they're doing. So I think it's all coming together of how we look at ourselves as a company, why do we exist, and also how do we look at talent and bring them in and be able to help them do the best work of their lives.
Thank you so much, Anshuman. I fully agree with you, and I think I would love to reiterate 2 points that you mentioned during your insights here. People, stakeholders, these were 2 words that you kept mentioning a couple of times, and I really want to acknowledge that all of us in the product ecosystem, we totally consider Intuit as a giant in this product space who obsesses over its customers, and we know how much it means. My next question to you is, how does this happen from within Intuit? The entire 2 pillars that you have, which is customer-driven innovation and design for delight. Can you run us through, from an internal perspective?
Absolutely. No, I think that's really a great question, and it has been, I think, a continuous learning journey for us. When we look at innovation, or our own internal innovation engine, there are 2 key aspects to it, right? The first one is what to solve, and the second one is how to solve. And let me, talk about these 2 aspects through 2 key, I would say, innovation differentiators that we look at ourselves, follow internally. And we talk about it in the external forums too, with the technologists. I think the first one around what to solve is what we call as customer-driven innovation. And it's actually a very unique approach that we have embraced, and it has been something that's been durable from the time Intuit has started as a company. And what we really kind of go after is a very, very important unsolved customer problem. And so the genesis of innovation at Intuit starts with the customer problem, right? So you find out an unsolved customer problem that's important and something that we as a company want to solve. And then you look internally and then you say, hey, is this something that we and those we enable can solve well, right? And once we have had that internal, I would say, understanding of the customer problem, and is this something that we or those we enable can solve well, you actually go into the journey of trying to build a durable competitive advantage. And so I think that's the, if you look at it from a kind of a Venn diagram, there are three, of these, concentric circles that you'll find. And at the intersection of these three, the first one is the most important unsolved customer problem that you're going after. The second one is it something that we or those we enable can solve well and build durable competitive advantage? So at the intersection of all these three is what we really say is success, right? So, the innovation journey at Intuit, it really stands out because we work backwards from the customer problem, right? It's not about, hey, I have a great idea and I want to test it out. It's about, hey, is this a big customer problem? And is this something that we can go after? And the reason we actually embrace that approach is because whatever you do, you want to be able to create an impact. You want to do it for someone who really cares about it or is struggling with that particular customer problem. And so, just being guided by our mission of powering prosperity, whatever we try to do, whether it is, product development, innovation, really has to result into creating prosperity, creating happiness, creating a better approach for someone. And that someone is our customer. So that's the whole customer driven innovation approach around what to solve. And the second one is, once you have understood that, hey, there is a customer problem, you've validated it internally, that's something that we or those we enable can solve, and then we can build a competitive advantage. And then the whole journey is around how to solve it, right? And that is the dimension around design for delight, or D for D, right? And again, it starts with deep customer empathy, which I've talked about already, understanding the customer pain point, and then going deep into understanding your customer, right? How does the customer relate to this particular customer problem? How does the customer, find better ways, himself or herself on this particular pain point? And then once you have that deep customer empathy, that particular understanding will give you new ideas. And so you go broad to go narrow. So you come up with various ways in which you could solve that particular problem, and then you start narrowing down. And how do you narrow down? You narrow down by running rapid experiments with customers, right? So you don't have to create a completely, full-blown experiment. You actually run rapid experiments. So be very agile, be nimble, be swift, right? And so run multiple experiments unless you kind of validate it with a customer, and then you find that, hey, maybe this is the approach that really works for a customer, is able to substantially create a customer benefit that our customers care about. And when you are at that stage, then you actually go into the journey of, really commercializing that particular offering or thinking of scale. But until then, you have to be very nimble, very agile, run experiments rapidly, test it, have a hypothesis-driven approach, create leap of faith assumptions. And so that whole journey on how to solve that particular customer problem is what we really look at as design for delight process. So I think these two fundamental, I would say, principles around innovation, what to solve is the customer-driven innovation approach, or CDI, and how to solve, which is the design for delight, or D4D approach that we really follow for anything, around product development and innovation at Intuit.
Absolutely. I think there were a couple of gems out there which I would love to reiterate, right? In terms of, have deep customer empathy. I think going back to what you said in terms of first what to solve, right? That's where customer-driven innovation comes in terms of what to solve, and then you move to how to solve it, right? And that's where your design for delight comes in. And then three gems that I would like to reiterate here were deep customer empathy. Have deep customer empathy in terms of what is really useful for them, and then go broad. Come up with as many ideas as possible so that you can go narrow. And then finally, you need to come up with rapid experiments, right? Rapid experiments to finally figure out what really works for you. I think these three were, real gems in my view. A very quick point here, Anshuman. I just wanted to connect this because I think these three are solid mantras for the startup world. Because ultimately these are strong product concepts in terms of what to solve and then how to solve it, and then going deeper into how do you actually build it out. Uh, I would definitely love to highlight here the fact that Intuit has a great interest in the startup ecosystem. There is a great amount of work already being done in the Indian startup ecosystem for the last couple of years, and that is directly something that you oversee. So I would love to bring that here into its circles. Intuit Circles has been your pet project in terms of enabling the Indian startup ecosystem and of course global. Can you tell us a bit more into the what and the why of it? If I have to again get into what are we solving here and why are we doing it? Because people would love to know about Intuit Circles.
Yeah, absolutely. And I talked about the whole innovation approach at Intuit, and I think the foundation of whatever we do has to be here. And Intuit Circles actually evolved as a program based on this principle as well. When we were doing our follow me homes with customers, going and understanding from them how they are using the product and what would they wish more for. One theme that started coming up, especially as we met startups in India, is, hey, we know about Intuit and your products, but we also want to work closely with Intuit as a company, right? And while they meet us in various programs, forums where we participate, they also wanted to have access to our team, to our leadership, and to be able to connect with us so that they could even look at working together with Intuit. And that is when we actually came up with the concept of Intuit Circles. It is a very, very straightforward approach that Intuit has created, especially in India, where we want to work with the local startup ecosystem, developer ecosystem, the technologists in the country. And it's not just about building products and working on core technologies. It's also about creating empathy for what we work on each and every day. And so we want to be close to the ecosystem so that we can learn, and at the same time we can contribute, right? And that's where the Intuit Circles program really helps us bring in startups. We have over 2,000 startups now in India who are part of the program, and we are also excited to bring a codeathon very soon. We are actually in the process of working with the participants, and then really seeing how the interest has been in a program like this. And so creating opportunities for the startups to work closely with Intuit has been the whole kind of genesis of creating this program. And the early results are great, and a lot of startups are working with us. Some of us have actually integrated also with our Intuit QuickBooks platform, and that has given them scale. A lot of them who actually wanted to access global markets have used the Intuit Circles program to integrate with Intuit QuickBooks and are now having access to global customers. So I think that is the opportunity that we want to present to our local startups in India and around the world. And I think this whole sense of partnership is something which we believe can really be the biggest differentiator for all of us and help the entire ecosystem grow. So that's our vision for the Intuit Circles program. and we are excited to see the participation, and we look forward to further enabling the offerings through the Intuit Circles program. But as I said, it's a learning forum, and we are also looking at learning insights from all the participants who are part of the program.
No, absolutely, Anshul. I think what you've enabled in terms of market access, in my view, is a great opportunity for Indian startups. Opening up with the API integrations into the QuickBooks as well as the other Intuit products, plus the access to millions of existing customers, right? So in a startup's journey, while a lot of startups will claim that funding happens to be a big problem or a big blocker, the biggest support any startup can get in the early stages is, of course, business and sales or market access. I think what you're really doing for a lot of early stage SaaS startups from India, and India is tending to become the SaaS capital. I think that is something, if you can just take a couple of minutes more, because I've been seeing a lot of success stories in the way some startups have been getting thousands of customers immediately in the first few quarters of integration. So if you can probably run us through the entire process of how you see it in terms of support that the startups get post integration, it'll be good.
Yeah, absolutely. And for all the listeners or viewers of the program, I would invite them to visit the Intuit Circles website, and really test it out. I think the whole approach that we have taken is to listen, learn, partner, and share. Right. So we would love to learn more. If you are working on technology that you think is a game changer or a big differentiator, and you would love to know more, and have somebody like Intuit partner with you in that journey, please reach out. There are my team members are available. You can write directly to me on LinkedIn or just reach out. uh, I think we are trying to kind of create multiple ways in which we can partner with the community. And so it could be around technology, it could be a customer insight that you have that you would like to test further, and you would like to work with us through the API integration, especially for Intuit QuickBooks customers. That's something that we can enable. And then also, I think the most important one is to learn from each other, right? So we also have a community platform. We have launched a virtual community for startups. So you could actually come be part of that program, get access to all the support, or know more about the program from not just Intuit perspective, but also we have partnered with other ecosystem players who are part of that particular program. So you can reach out to them, and you can. The most important thing I would say is to reaching out to each other, right? You may be working on a customer problem that somebody else is also struggling with, and you could integrate with them. So I think our platform is really agnostic of hey, who you are, and what you want to do. It's all about solving for that customer problem, and you can get help from whoever. It's not just Intuit. You could partner with each other, you could partner with other ecosystem players that are part of that platform. So I would love for you to experiment with this program, learn, share insights with us. And of course, I mean, if you have already built a product and you would like to integrate with Intuit QuickBooks through our API integration process, you're most welcome. And there is a very, very robust approach that we have created, and we have now teams locally who can help you in that journey. And we have already got some sort success stories, and so you can learn more about all of them once you are part of the Intuit Circles program. So I would say lean in and help, and at the same time benefit from the collective wisdom that already exists, and the programs and partnerships that we already have.
Absolutely. So, Anshuman, I'm just going to deviate a bit into something that's very important while running teams. And a lot of startups that are listening to this in the Head Start network as well as the Intuit Circles network are in the phase of growth where they're scaling up from the first 10, 20 employees to about 100 employees. And something that all of us have been facing this year is something that we've not really seen. Remote first working, remote first hiring, remote first onboarding, remote first performance evaluation. It's a completely virtual, world now. 6 months earlier, 9 months earlier, work from home was a luxury. It was a perk, or it was something good that the managers were offering. But today, I think that's the way ahead, right? In terms of that's how it is today. So any 2 cents that you could probably share to the startup founders here who are building and nurturing teams completely online? Anything that's worked for you at Intuit?
Yeah, I would say I think the shift is not been very easy, right, for some, and some folks have really kind of thrived in that environment. But I would say stick to what's core to you and your belief, right? I mean, for us, the most important thing is to be able to stay connected with each other, with our customers, with our people. And so, that is the most important differentiator that we have looked at. Irrespective of whether it is a physical or a virtual work environment, how can you stay close to your customer, their pain points? And there are ways in which you can actually get access to that, because everyone is kind of virtual now, or maybe in a hybrid environment. So, perhaps being able to stay connected with them, if not physically, virtually, there are ways, there are technologies, there are collaboration platforms that exist today. Our customers are on those collaboration platforms. Internally within the company, it's easier because, as a company, you can create that collaboration tool or platform. So I would say, stay close to, what's important and your core beliefs and your differentiators. Continue to lean in, leverage technology, but also at the same time, really create that balance, right? I think we all in the initial phase were struggling, and some people felt that, hey, maybe remote working is perhaps different, maybe easier. It's not, right? There is fatigue of being in front of the screen all day. There is fatigue of my work and personal professional lives are no longer different. I'm at home, but I still feel like I'm working all the time. So I would say, being able to create that balance between, your personal, professional lives is important. Take time to recharge, to refresh, to be with your loved ones, especially, during times like these, because it's not just about giving them strength, it's about, keeping your strength. So I would say, from a physical to a virtual environment, stay close to what really are your differentiators. Stay close to the customers, stay close to your people, but at the same time leverage technology to make things easier, scale faster. And I would say the last one is to have a sense of balance, right? I think that's very critical. I think those are the themes that we have really focused on, and this is all new environment to all of us. We are learning and we are listening all the time to our customers, to our people, and we are trying to incorporate their inputs, insights, feedback. And so I would say this will continue to be a learning phase. We don't know what the future of work would look like, but I think all these insights will play a big role in how we evolve from here as companies, as talent, customers, everyone. So all the stakeholders will evolve together, and I hope stronger out of this.
Absolutely. So, Anshuman, we're coming to the end of the chat here. A couple of last questions from my end. So, the Indian startup ecosystem is probably the third largest in the world now, and the fastest growing in the world. So, what is it that can we expect, or what is it that you have in mind for the Indian startup ecosystem for 2021? Something that we've been seeing as Head Start is, Intuit is already doing a lot in terms of building its own community, working with a lot of other communities, working with the government, running a lot of programs like the Codeathon, etc. And of course, market access in terms of opening API. So, like you said, there are different channels in which you're trying to work with the startup ecosystem. Uh, so, in a nutshell, what is it that the community or the ecosystem can expect from Intuit for 2021?
Yeah, I would say not just into it. I think when I look at ourselves as a company, I actually feel like we are maybe a 35-year-old startup ourselves, right? We still believe in creating those small teams that can make decisions faster and move forward faster. Concept of mission teams, and also always be guided by the customer pain point. That's fundamental to how you can innovate and really kind of create a culture of experimentation. So I would say from a culture perspective, continue to go after solving for the biggest pain points that you see around you, and there are several. And I think any company that can really nail it well will be able to create a differentiator or a competitive advantage for themselves. But I think the most important factor, I would say, looking forward, would be to have this theme of open collaboration. Right? How can we co-create offerings? How can we really go after harnessing the power of many? To me, that's going to be the biggest differentiator as we look forward, and it will help us scale faster. It will help us create offerings which are more delightful. It will help us create synergies in our offerings. So I would say, how can we embrace this concept of open collaboration, open innovation, so to say, which I feel will really accelerate outcomes for all of us. So I think instead of competing, collaborating is something that I would look forward to. That is what we want to do also through Intuit Circles program, or through Intuit, right? We want to create an open platform for people, for startups, for developers, technologists to come in and really kind of bring their insights, the technologies that they are seeing traction on, and a customer insight that they want to work on. So that's the whole concept of open APIs, and also creating this platform approach. So in my view, as I look forward, I would say open collaboration, embracing that approach of harnessing the power of many, I think would really stand out, because it will just kind of help accelerate outcomes for all stakeholders.
Very true. I'm just going to take the liberty of summarizing a few gems from today's chat. I thoroughly enjoyed it. In fact, this is especially for the founders and product folks. Something that is worth repeating a dozen times. Always start with what to solve, right? Then the bias of how to solve. I think always start with what to solve. What do your customers really need? I think that is your starting point. If at all, for the thousands of folks listening to this podcast who are looking at starting up soon, have your Venn diagram that Anshuman was talking about on what to solve. What to solve, what are you good at, and what is it that you can add value. Then move to the next one, which is also very crucial, because without the second part, you don't have a complete outcome here. Then you move to how to solve it, right? So this is where Intuit's two very key tenets here on customer-driven innovation and design for delight, which is your what to solve, and then comes the how to solve, right? And at this point, something that was very, very interesting that Anshuman was gracious enough to dive deep into was, of course, have deep customer empathy in terms of understanding what are they going through, why are they going through, and then figure out how can you solve it? And when you try solving for it, do not have the bias of going into one idea and hitting it. Try, in Anshuman's own words, go broad to go narrow, right? Come up with as many ideas as possible. Go as broad as possible as a team, and then you can hit, the spot and go narrow in terms of identifying that one thing. And the most important piece at that point is to come up with rapid experiments with your customers, right? Go directly with them, work with them, and have rapid experiments to come out with the outcomes that is the most desirable outcome. So I think this is something that I thought, is worth highlighting at the end of the chat, because in my view, for a lot of you aspiring entrepreneurs and product folks, these are true gems from, the Intuit leader as well as the Intuit culture itself. And something that was also very important because, Intuit not just has, thousands and thousands of employees in India, but, it is also a company that's been repeatedly bagging the recognition of being, one of the best employers. So something that, I just wanted to push or drive home is try ensuring that your teams, you as a founder, very important, and your teams maintain the balance. It can be the work-life balance. It could be, balance of any kind, but ensure that the balance is never compromised. And something from a corporate angle, if Anshuman's wearing his corporate hat again, open innovation is something that corporates cannot ignore, right? So that was beautifully put in the end. It is time for corporates because you're talking about what to expect from Intuit Circles in the next 1 year. Open innovation is something that no longer can corporates ignore. It is time for embracing open innovation. And of course, I can totally relate to it. Being on the other side, also driving open innovation at Infosys. It is time for the Indian ecosystem to really thrive. In my view, it is no longer about surviving through the pandemic for startups. I think it is our turn to really thrive as a startup ecosystem. And you've heard it from the leader at Intuit himself that corporates are really looking at opening up their innovation ecosystem, embracing innovation from outside, simply because it makes it faster or takes it faster to the customers in terms of solving problems. So thank you so much, Anshuman, on your time. Are there any final words that you want to leave our audience with?
Yeah, absolutely. When I look at the whole startup ecosystem, what I think of is, dreamers. So I would just urge all of you to be the dreamers that you are, and not just be the dreamers yourself. Be the champion for those who dare to dream.
Thank you so much, Anshuman. That was a pleasure. Thank you, all of you, for being a part of this wonderful podcast. I thoroughly enjoyed it as a host. Look forward to hosting many more thought leaders from the Intuit tables. Thank you so much.
Thank you.